So according to our agenda, I start off with members present, and we have David Toth, trustee of the trust funds. We have Walter Durack, trustee of the trust funds, and Amanda Loud, trustee of the trust funds. So we do have a full quorum. Public that is with the meeting tonight include Kathleen DeWolf as well as Alice Staples. And I see no one else wanting to come to our meeting. So if I can get my best laid plans, hold on, I can get my agenda up, figure out what to do next. We have the minutes from the last meeting, which Walter and I were the only two. It was a short meeting that we just needed to hold in order to have said we had a meeting,
Right.
so we could get some signatures going. And I have looked at those minutes and I have no additions to make or edits. So we will say that those minutes are now approved. David, as far as the signatory, wait, I've got that next. Never mind. The Google folder digital records. As you both know, Walter and Dave, I have put together a Google folder, which I shared with both of you, and I'm assuming you were able to open that. That all went well and good. I've been putting documents in there, you know, be they PDF scans of statements or any kind of historical documentation I can find on some of these trusts, which sometimes it's hard to find that. But I've been putting that all in the Google folder. And as I find anything else or anything comes to light, I will throw it in there so we all have the same information, you know, that we can all access. One thing that I will be doing in the next, gosh, I hope week or so, is going through the town reports for all the current CRFs that we have. We have about 16 capital reserve funds, I think. And I will be going through those and being sure that we have the short warrant article documentation for everyone in a folder, because as trustee of the trust funds, our job, of course, is to not only release the funds, you know, which is the will of the people through vote, but also to make sure that those funds are spent according to the warrant article that established them. We were the kind of the checks and balance system for the Board of Selectmen and the people, if you will. Not that, you know, we're going to have any issues with it, but just to make sure that that is truly what that warrant article intended. So I'm going to put it together instead of the old-fashioned paper binder. I'm going to just have it all in this digital format in a folder, and I'll just stick it in the shared Google file with you all. Then we've all got that information as well. I've been online. I was online today, and that's not going to be a difficult thing to do. I'm just going to screenshot pages of PDFs that I can access online. It's going to be pretty quick and easy. Financial report, access updates. So good news is that we now have signatory Walter Durack and I are about 48 hours away from being able to sign checks and pay something for the town of Ashland for the first time since April 17th. Now, Dave, we need to get you on to these accounts too. And the reason I just pushed forward without you was because if we waited to get your name added to this, it would be another 2 weeks before the BOS met again to sign the minutes that said that you were appointed. We just couldn't. I've got bills that were due last, 6 weeks ago. So I just wanted to push forward and get somebody, at least a quorum, to be able to sign. So having said that, once I have the go ahead from Meredith Village and we have the account set up, Dave, then I will push your name in on all of them as well. So I just wanted you to know that I'm not ignoring you. We're just trying to get going as fast as we can. I've got a P.O. box that's due by the end of the month that I was just freaking out we would lose the P.O. box number over. Investment policy. This is something that we as trustees of the trust funds must review on an annual basis. And I put into the, let me see, here's my the Google folder, and I can get a share screen going real quick. I put this into the Google folder, the current investment policy for the town of Ashland. You all, oh, there it is. Okay. There we go. Y'all see what I'm seeing? Okay. Investment policy. No, never mind. That's the town of Ashland, which I would just like to make a point that is slightly different than what the trustee of the trust funds can do. What is this? Did I put it in here? This investment policy PDF is not the trustees of the trust funds investment policy. This is the town investment policy, which governs town funds, which are specifically capital reserve funds. But trusts do not fall under that necessarily. And now I feel bad because it's not there. Okay, so let me try to find it. My point being is that we need to look at this trust policy, which I've got over here. Let me find it. And we need to turn it in to the Attorney General's office, I think it is.
Yes.
Okay. And it's not there, so let me look over here. Let me change my glasses. It will help a little bit.
I didn't see it on there, but it may
Yeah. Okay, let me look. I might have it in this file. I do have it. I do have it. So just give me a moment and I'll find it. Because I know I've got it because I actually called the Attorney General's office one day, like a year ago, and got it.
And I know you sent it to me in an email attachment one day, I think when you were getting me acquainted with everything that you had.
Okay, so I do have it. Scrivener rank. Okay. Nope, wrong one. I got the town's investment policy. Shoot.
It wouldn't be in with the Scribner will, like if you had gotten a whole bunch of things from the Attorney General's office at once.
No, I got it on an email from the Attorney General's office. So
Okay.
I know another place to look, which is in my Scribner. I have a couple of Scribner files in my here we go. Nope, 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 not there. And I just have the BOS. Shoot. Well, okay, so we might be doing that at our next meeting. Okay, we'll just move forward. I'm sorry. I can just say that it is an extremely general policy, and there's nothing that's concerning in and of itself, aside from the fact that it doesn't specifically mention that you want a balanced approach, balanced meaning stocks and bonds, and having kind of maybe a 60-40 or 70-30 or something approach, which is something Walter can speak to with how some of the funds that we have now are invested. And we can talk about all the funds tonight, save Scribner. So I think there's about 10 trusts. I think there's about 11. So we'll talk about the other 10 tonight. And oh, I just feel terrible that I had the wrong investment policy there. But anyway, I'll get that straightened out and we will move forward with that on having something specifically in writing our next meeting. In the Google folder that I shared with you all, there are a few other investment policies to look at. Swansea, for example, the town of Amherst, and Hanover Trustees Reference Manual. So I encourage us all then to look at those, which I really liked Hanover's because I believe it was Hanover that was very specific about having it balanced. It is, I think, like a 70-30 or something, and I really, really liked it. Our policy doesn't need to be very long. I suggest that it isn't long. I think the more involved you make it, the thornier it can be your future. But if we just keep it short and simple, very broad, but I would like to have a balanced aspect because that is clearly what's missing in the funds, and their performance is definitely hurting because of that. Speaking of which, I can update us on some of the funds, except I've already been signed out because I was chatting too long. I can update us on the hold on, I can't talk and type at the same time. Well, that's not working. Okay, I can update us on the Blake Fund as well as the Memorial Park Fund. And you'll see a Scribner too. So the first line, 1449, is the Blake Fund, which is now back to 60,296. If you look, and I think, as again I've said this a few times, if you look at the difference, and Walter needs to just interrupt me at any point. If you look at the first and the last fund, the 1449 is the Blake Fireman's Fund. It is an unbalanced fund. It is 100% stocks. If you look at the 8512 at the bottom, that is the Memorial Park Fund. It is a balanced fund. It's really, I think it's about a 60-40. It's really a nicely built. I have to say, of everything that Ashland holds invested wise that I've been able to see and check out, this Memorial is doing the best. And it, if you look at the Blake Fund, I'm going to go into Blake, and then I'm going to hit its balances here. And because the picture's worth 1,000 words, you can see that it was in January of this year at 72,000. And then, of course, we had COVID, and it went down to 55,000. So it lost almost $20,000. And then now it is back up to 60, which isn't where it was at 72, but it went down a great deal. It went down 22%. And then it is now rising. If you compare, for example, I'm going to go back and look at the Memorial Park, 8512. And hit its balances. As you can see, the graph on Memorial Park did not go down as far, and it did not go back up as steeply either. But it is a balanced fund with stocks and bonds, and so it started in January at 62. It went down to 53. It didn't lose 20. It lost 10. And then it made it back up to 58. So it's, pretty close to where it started again. It didn't have that deep dive. It didn't bounce as much. And one thing, Dave, that Walter and I have talked about since he became a trustee of the trust funds is our serious concern of unbalanced funds, of wanting to have particularly something like the Blake Fund, where you are looking to give a scholarship with this money each year, of having some kind of stability in that fund so that you can project that it will be a $500 scholarship every year, knowing that 10 years from now, 500 doesn't buy what it does today, and that maybe that scholarship should be 600 or something. But so allowing for some growth, but to have the stability to be able to count on a certain balance in that account. So Walter has been looking at other places to move. Specifically, these are kind of the big three funds, Blake, Scribner, and Memorial Park. And the Scribners at the last meeting did vote to authorize Walter and or Amanda, because we weren't sure how many it would take to do this, to move the Scribner Fund into the best, investment. And Walter and I both agreed that it would be at Vanguard, because the fees at Wells Fargo right now are extremely high. We're paying, all the funds are paying around 1+% in expense ratios, and then additional investment fees. And Walter looked into this a great deal, and we are just not getting a bang for the buck with this. I can stop talking about this, Walter, if you would like to take over.
Sure. So Amanda's right. We're not really getting the value added of having a financial advisor, David.
Correct.
The fees that we're paying to Wells Fargo for advisory are not out of the ordinary. They're between 0.8 and 1%, which is pretty much industry standard for a financial advisor. And then, like Amanda said, the expense ratios on the mutual funds across the different trusts here, they average 1%, which, okay. If you do some research into mutual funds, 1% for a expense ratio, yeah, it's pretty decent. It's about average. But dig a little deeper, some of the mutual funds were paying well over 2%. in expense ratios, which that comes right out of the returns on dividends and capital gains. So
Correct.
it really eats into any gains that would be made. And as far as the financial advisory fees, I would expect to see through transaction history that there'd be a lot more active management going on, and there really hasn't been. It's been very passively managed by Wells Fargo. Maybe that was the intent of the trustees who set this up. I'm not really sure. I couldn't speak to that, but one would expect for a financial advisor to be looking after these, that they'd be moving things around and setting us up for success rather than failure, as well as perhaps looking at the way things are invested within the different funds and making some recommendations. I mean, it really doesn't seem prudent to be 100% invested in all equities. Now, granted, the equities that the Blake Fund, for instance, are invested in are really, it's a great basket of stocks, don't get me wrong, but even a 30-year-old person working towards retirement at age 65 or 70 would still have 10 or 20% invested in bonds to diversify themselves and to protect themselves on the downside losses in volatile markets like we're seeing today.
So anyway, as we go forward now, we have Walter is now working on the paperwork to get on Wells Fargo. I'm the only one that has any kind of signatory authority with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo said, though, that they could act just on one person's request. So one is enough, and I'm extremely thankful that I really pushed and pushed and pushed, and it took me about 4 months to get on Wells Fargo last year, but I did. And there were a few things that made that difficult, not necessarily just Wells Fargo. But anyway, Walter's working now to get his signatory authority on that as well. We think it would be best not to have just one person, even though we definitely want to move the money, because it's not invested well, and it's taking away too much. It could be doing so much better for the town. So our plan is that we discussed at our last meeting is to put it at Vanguard again, because the expense ratios are very low and we're getting a much, much better bang for the buck. We'll save these, as I explained to one firefighter, we will save about $650 a year on the Blake Fund alone, and that's a scholarship.
Right.
That's just in money that we saved. That's not counting it that it will grow. So
if I may interject, Amanda, in addition to having a much more cost-effective expense ratio and basically it being cheaper to invest, the other part to Vanguard is what we found in our research is their mutual fund selection. If we're going to stick primarily with mutual funds, which in the case of a trust, that's pretty wise. Down the road there could be discussion about branching out into more equities directly and bonds directly and CDs and other instruments directly. But for the mutual funds, the selection that's offered by Vanguard are some of the most highest rated across all the different investment houses available on the market. So it's really a win-win situation. You have very low cost of management in terms of the expense ratios, but also the performance on almost every single one of them outperforms the benchmark to which it's tied. So that's, for us, we really see the value added there.
So I think where we stand right now with these funds is once Walter gets his signatory authority, and there'll be 2 of us at least, then Walter will open up a fund in Vanguard, which have all 3 of us at that point, Dave, to sign on it. We're not ignoring you. It's just, it's very time consuming to get one person, and Walter already has a head start. So we just want to try to get it through. And once the Vanguard funds are open, you will be put, of course, Dave, as a signer, because I'm not going to be comfortable until all 3 of us are on it. But it was just why delay things any more than we have to. So,
and I'm already 2 weeks into the process with Wells Fargo, and nothing's landed in my mailbox yet.
So it's gonna, yeah, it's pulling teeth, but we will.
Have we checked into getting a financial advisor who specializes in municipal funds, investing for municipalities?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We have not. First of all, the amount of money that we're dealing with, while it's certainly more than any of us have in our checking accounts, I'm sure, it is not a tremendous amount of money. I was at the trustee of the trust funds virtual meeting, for example, and of course there were lots of people from other towns, and people were asking questions and talking, and they have scholarship funds, plural, that are in the millions, and those are just for scholarships. This is not, this is, it's not a lot of money. And fortunately, at this point in time, those of us at the table have a great deal of knowledge of investing, with mutual funds. Vanguard does offer investment services, I would like to point out as well. So I think at this point, we're just trying to save Ashland as much money as we can, and that we are in a position to be able to do this and not have to pay someone else to do it for money, with fees. However, that being said, as we approach, revising the investment policy for the trustees, I think we certainly need to put in that clause, of seeking financial advice, in the absence of membership of the trustees, that can do that. How do you feel about that, Dave?
I don't know how I don't know how I feel about not having a financial advisor. I know the account. I know the amounts are fairly small. I know that investment advisors like to have actually need to work with large sums of money in order to really balance out accounts effectively. I will say that if it's okay with you, I'd just like to run those questions by my financial advisor.
Sure, absolutely.
I've been working with for about 20 years or so.
Sure.
And I trust, just to get his feedback, and if I think it's useful, I'll just pass it on.
Sure.
To you. I certainly agree with the strategy that you both are talking about balancing out these funds. I think that's important, and the evidence is clear. Just from looking at these accounts, that that the Blake Fund is much too volatile for our purposes. So,
and
I think we're headed in the right direction.
I know that this was a year ago when I first saw Scribner and saw the amount that it was losing, about $1,000 plus a year on fees alone. I went to my financial advisor and asked his opinion. Can I quickly have 5 minutes of your time for something that's not in my name? And he just said, "Oh, this is a simple answer. I'm going to recommend Vanguard because you'll go from expense ratios, 1+% to 0.08%." And I said, "Well, that's not rocket science." And so, anyway, but absolutely, Dave, please talk to yours as well. I do want you to know Walter clearly has a lot of experience with his own finances and investing. I have been asking my own financial advisor about this as well. And I think that you seeking out information from yours would only help the situation.
Yeah. Just for me, I mean, we have been investing for many years, and I still don't feel comfortable doing it without financial advice. So,
Sure.
And
the idea that
I know that's true about Vanguard as well.
Yes.
I think we're probably making the right decision. I'm moving in the right direction. I just want to get one more source of information?
Sure, of course. I think the idea that we have, and I'm sure that you'll agree, is with the amount of money that we have, is just trying to keep things from tanking, bouncing around, get it more balanced, and then this is kind of going actually the second item on the agenda, to talk to those sectors of the town that this, the benefits, Memorial Park, and the Firefighters Association, and for those Memorial Park and Blake funds, and talk to them and find out, what are your needs? How much do you need for Memorial Park every year? What are your projected long range, the next 5 years? Do you have anything that you need? And find out what it is that they are looking for, and try to balance funds. So just as I said with the Blake Fund, they can count on having that scholarship money. I know that I have heard that in past, as I talk to different firefighters that I know, they mumble something like, well, we haven't been able to spend it for the past few years. And I was like, no, wait a minute, we need to get this fixed so that it is a dependable source, and find out what they're, and educate them as well on how it's invested and what they can, expect. So I think we're kind of all probably on the same page with all of that.
I think so.
Yeah. So anyway.
And thanks for all your work on this, Walter.
Sure.
So I would say then, as we go forward, our next meeting would be at the end of July, 4th Monday of July. And at that time, Dave, you will have time to talk to your financial advisor, bring anything else to the table that you might have. Hopefully by then, Walter will be a signatory on Wells Fargo, and we'll have, one or two accounts, that Walter will put forward, say, this is where I think we need to move these funds and why. And then my hope is that at the end of July, we could make a decision, and get the money somewhere that it's not being eaten up on fees and advisory fees where we're not getting the advice. Anyway.
Yeah, I will say the advice we did, quote unquote, get when the advisor came in September was 100% contrary to reality. And for the last 18 months, they've pretty much called what happened or has happened in the economy spot on. So yeah. I almost called to the day when the recession was going to be declared.
And I was saying that the Scribner Trust was going to deplete. I began saying depletion, and I gave it 18 to 36 months. And I started saying that, I think it was about maybe a year ago, even today.
Right.
And that was, and I did, of course, I wasn't seeing a pandemic coming forward. I was simply looking at the amount that was being spent and what it was in, and thinking, this is really a little, I thought the whole market was a bit inflated or stilted or something, and it had me very concerned. So, I have to say that my other Scribner trustees didn't think I was right at all, but now I'm thinking, maybe they were right and I was wrong, because sometimes I don't know if it's going to make it 18 months. So anyway, having said that, I think we all know where we are today. But does that sound like a game plan then for our July meeting? Let's all come to the table, but come to the table being pretty much ready to make a decision. Bring your facts and figures with you and your arguments for how it should be. And most important, bring an open mind to be able to hear what someone else is saying that may disagree with what you're thinking when you come to the table, so that we can have the best decision possible. So we'll put that definitely on our July agenda. Okay, I'm writing a note.
And I also think it's a tough decision given the state of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we're going to have to monitor very carefully.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree. I think the main force that's pushing particularly me wanting to get out of Wells Fargo is simply all of the additional fees that we're getting. It's not necessarily.
We should absolutely not be paying that.
Yeah, just
no,
absolutely not.
We can just save honestly thousands of dollars, because there's
Right.
3 different funds at Wells Fargo, thousands of dollars a year, just getting rid of the fees that are in, it's kind of like you wouldn't open up a checking account at a bank if it caused you all these fees every time you wrote a check. But you would still have a checking account somewhere. And so everything can be moved, by the way, Dave, everything can be moved in kind, which means we are not having to sell off anything low or, getting horrific losses. It's all going to be transferred in kind, and just all of a sudden not being charged the fees, and then stabilized slowly, prudently.
Yeah, I wouldn't, as we work through different recommendations on how to balance things, what costs people money needlessly, I'd say, is making a change all at once. So rebalancing overnight, for instance, that's one of those. It's really easy to go into your 401k and hit the rebalance button and say, okay, now I'm back to where I want. But pressing that button and moving things between 5, 6, 10 different mutual funds isn't always a good idea. And you can time things a little bit. You can time things a lot better if you do things a little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just the savings in the advisory fees alone is going to help a lot.
Mm-hmm. Great. Like I said, for Blake, it's going to mean another scholarship.
Right.
Not that I think that they will give to. Yeah. I mean, that's not the point, but that's how much they're losing just in fees.
So one thing I can do for the July meeting is based on the recommendations I might make for the different funds, the different trusts, in what funds to invest in and what proportion to balance and properly diversify. I can make a reasonable projection on what the annualized returns would be. Now, of course, that's all a projection. There's no guarantee, absolutely no guarantee. But what's important with that annual projection is an idea of what can reasonably be drawn off of the fund without depleting it intentionally. And I think was one of the things we saw, if we could use the example of the Scribner, was yes, we had fees for advising eating into it, but for various expenses and so on through the course of the year, there was really deductions being taken out of it that were close to double what the trust could actually yield reasonably and sustain itself.
Yeah. In fact, with Scribner, which I know more about than any of the others because I've just been dealing with it longer, Scribner, these are Wells Fargo numbers, mind you, these are not my own. Wells Fargo has it making 2.5% a year. And that is, that's net of expense ratios. And 2.5%, you should aim as a general rule of thumb to take 3 to 4% a year from something without depleting it.
Right.
But Wells Fargo was only giving 2.5%. And then if you, another Wells Fargo notice was that Scribner was being spent at a rate of 8% a year. And so again, that's like, 4th grade math to figure out that that is not going to last. So anyway, I think that's just another example of Wells Fargo just not giving a bang for the buck if they can't give you at least 3 to 4%. Annuities tend to be 3.5% for that very reason. So anyway, having said that, I think we've beaten the horse. Not that I'm into that. I'm very much into loving animals, so let's stop. So once we get things then in July, once we make our decision in July, we should probably schedule a meeting with the boards again sometime maybe September, August, September, probably September, to talk to the Firemen's Association as well as Memorial Park, probably 2 different meetings, for them to fully understand where things are, what they can expect, and so that we know what their needs are as well. For the benefit of Ashland Library. Now, I know this is in the Google folder because I was just looking at it a minute ago. My thanks very much to, let me see what I can get out of this. Hold on. And come in here. Sarah Weinberg, very long time ago, sent me paperwork on various, and you're seeing this, I hope, various, wait, is it not moving? There we go. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Why am I not finding? Oh, it's because it's in a different, it's been opened and now the script is different. Okay, hold on. At least I figured out what was going on. She sent me information on different funds that had been given over the years to the library for the benefit of the library. It was given to the town. And I would like to make a distinction right now for legal purposes. When someone bequeaths money to the town of Ashland, then regardless who benefits from the money, if it's given to the town for the benefit of the soccer club, if it's given to the town for the benefit of, I don't know, the cemetery, whatever. If it's given to the town, then the trustees of the trust funds must hold and administer those funds. However, if the funds are given expressly to the library and not to the town of Ashland for the benefit of the library, but to the library directly, then the library trustees have control of those funds. They're not controlled by the trustees of the trust funds. Those funds would be controlled by the library trustees. So the first thing I did was I went and I read all this will information that Sarah gave to me. And I want to open it in this. There we go. And so this is all the documentation and information of money that was left for the benefit of the library. And they all reads that it was given to the town of Ashland for the benefit of the library. So we are still, because my first thought was maybe it's not even ours to, play around with. No, it really is. So, but it is for the benefit of the library. However, my understanding, and I see Alice has unmuted herself, and I'm glad of that. My understanding has been that that the library has not seen this money for a few decades. Now, I went and looked at the different trusts, and at this point, I'd like to bring up an email that I sent to the library, just because as I was going through this one day, I was able to kind of write it all out and have it all make some sense for us all to discuss. So hold on one moment. I'll look for Alice Staples on an email. And I should find, where did I was finding it? Hold on. There it is. Hold on. There we go. And I will share this with you now. What has happened, the best I can tell, is, and I went through these, and they're what I call the smaller funds. Some of these smaller funds are scholarship funds, but some are not. Some are for the benefit of the library. Some are for the trustee, for the cemeteries, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So this is what I all got put together as I was looking through these statements. And the reason that the library has not seen any of this money is because it's all on reinvest. If it makes anything, it's immediately reinvested. So there's no checks, dividend checks coming in the mail, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is against the law not to follow the will, of the benefactor. So here it says, I attached a file regarding some trusts and bequests to the library. And that's what I just had on that screen share, which, shows some different stuff. All the funds seem to have been given to the town for the benefit of the library, given to the town for the benefit of the library. So they should be held by the trustee of the trust funds and not by the library trustees. However, please note the wording of the Pauline Packard, Addison, and Ordway Cheney bequest. These funds are all on reinvest. So if you look at the, and I shared in that Google file with you, both Walter and Dave, the recent statements I had on them, and they're all on reinvest. And also I'd like to add that some of these have the names of trustees who are now dead. So they have not been looked at. And it's not necessarily they're not necessarily invested badly as far as I can tell. I wasn't freaking out like I am with some stuff at Wells Fargo, but certainly has been sleeping. Okay. The Ashland Library trustees. Okay. I can read this better with these. Okay. You need to present to the trustees of the trust funds a letter requesting the interest or dividends. as per the Packard will. So if you read the will, and I shared all of this library trust fund stuff I shared with the trustees, the library trustees. Are you seeing this now, or are you on? No, you're still seeing. But it does say that that they have to request in writing to get any of the funds. And I have no problem with that. You know, you're going to have to request in writing. So, for example, this is the Pauline Packard Memorial Library Fund for the purpose of purchasing library books. So she gave $1,460. And now the Pauline Packard Fund, let's see if I have it up here, has a value, I think, of about $1,800. So that's not a lot, but it is more. So if you cannot, the principal, they were going to give $460 immediately. So the principal was $1,000. So the library, Alice, I mean, you could request $800, you know, and going on to the other ones, just for the record, this now, of course, is sideways. Let's see if we can move it. Did I move that one? Did I move? So this is where I wasn't quite sure what was going on. You have a $500 trust fund for her to memory of her son, Thomas Cheney, money to be used for purchase of books on New Hampshire with book plates. And then this is the Louise Addison down here where it starred. It says, third, I give and bequeath to the town of Ashland, again, $1,000 for the benefit of the library. And so the long and short of it is there's these funds. The Ordway Cheney was the one I wasn't quite clear on how it got its name and what was really going on with that. You've got $500 coming from Thomas Cheney. Not quite sure about the Ordway. The Packard makes sense. The Addison makes sense. Somewhere it goes Ordway. Okay, here it is. Ordway. Ashland is get $1,500. So I guess that the Ordway Cheney was merged, 500 and 1,500 for 2,000 or something like that. If anybody knows anything I don't know and can share that, I'm listening.
I do not really know any details of this. David Rule probably knows a lot more, and Sarah's very knowledgeable as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So, but my point that is very important now for you to take back to the library trustees is you need to present, you know, you'd have to give us a letter saying you want the interest and dividends from these various accounts. It'll be less once, okay, if you could have, you know, its value's about $1,800, so you could ask for $800. The amount's so low, though, that you can expect only about $85 a year from it. And now I see that I was wrong in my email, because in the original bequest in like 1940 or whenever this was, they were immediately giving $460 to the library, which means the principal is really only $1,000. And again, you can count on like maybe 6%. You know, you want to spend no more than 3 or 4%, because that allows for growth and keeps things from depleting. But as a general rule of thumb, you can always say, you know, it's going to be about 6%, which means that on $1,000, you're only going to get about $60. So yeah, you know, that's up to you. Okay.
Right.
So
and I think that's why we haven't done much with them, because it's not.
It's not a lot, but what I discovered, however, at my trustee training, is that you can, because it's so little money, and there's 3 trusts involved that really have not a lot of money in them at all. And you can, if you talk to Tom Donovan, who's now got Terry Knowles' old job, basically. He's at the Attorney General's office. He's a great guy. If you talk to him and say, you know, we've got these 3 trusts that have very little money, the most is $2,400 in one of them. And I wish I could say that that was a lot of money, but I can't, because it's just not a lot of money, you know, just not a lot of money. You know, like looking at like what, you know, $120 a year or something off of that. You can have these trusts without having to go to court, without having to spend the money that a CPRA, you know, probate could cost you, and just have them handed over to you in full, you know, and just get the money, just take the money and run. Now, again, that is your decision to make. These are for your benefit. We have to, by law, manage them because they were given to the town. However, you know, you might decide that you want to take the money and run. You might decide that you want to have us invest it because we can invest it much better than it is invested. Not that you're going to, this is not going to turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
In my lifetime, for sure. You know, I mean, it would take a long time
Right.
for it to be like, but I am saying we can do better by you, and we're happy to, but that this is a decision that you guys need to make. And
Right.
and quite honestly, until, you know, you turn a decision on us, we've got, like I said, about 11 trusts. These 3, as far as I'm concerned, we can just keep them in, you know, hibernation.
Right.
Because, like I said, they've got names of trustees, some of whom are now dead.
Yeah.
It's going to take us some time to get them. But if you don't want to, you know, call them in, you know, then
Right.
we move them, you know.
Part of the problem is, like, the Cheney, I think, is the one for historical books, New
Yeah.
Hampshire books. So they do have some specifics that we can't just kind of go, all right, we're going to buy a new desk with.
Well, you're right. But however, you can with Packard.
Yeah.
One of them is unrestricted. The other 2 are restricted to books. However, you know, with that, you're not talking about an awful lot of money where you're going to be pulling your hair out wondering, oh, what possible book can we buy with all this money? I just don't know how we're going to spend it. You know, I don't think you're going to have that problem with books.
Right.
But, you know, and one thing you can do, maybe you might want to talk to Tom Donovan about this. I know that you can request just to have it liquidated. And once you request and have it liquidated, I don't know. Do you have the authority then to go and invest it somewhere else and have a bigger fund? So instead of 3 that are very small, you might have one that's somewhat better, maybe $4,000 or $5,000. And then as library trustees, you could invest it somewhere else. I don't know. No, probably not, because they were specified to buy books. So never mind.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, we can't go ahead and put it in our building fund.
Yeah. Yeah. You could Packard.
Yeah.
And Packard's $2,400.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm just telling you, we're my plan, and Dave and Walter, please just interrupt and say I completely disagree with that. As I tell people, I teach middle school, and you will not hurt my feelings. But you know, as far as we're concerned, you know, with all the stuff that we're just going to let them sit and hibernate until the trustees of the library tell us what they want us to do with them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, we can request and give you a couple of $100, but you know,
Yeah,
that's just that. I mean, 200 may be all you're going to get out of this, you know.
Yeah, yeah. We're meeting this week, so we'll talk about it. You know, I mean, we've been spending. I remember, you know, buying some historical books and things like that. So we do spend them, but they are so small that it's sort of like, eh.
Well, I would look into talking to Tom Donovan and finding out what you need to do, because it will not cost you any money. It's a matter, I think, of letter writing and proving. And if you need anything from the trustees of the trust funds on this, just let us know, and we'll definitely provide you with any information you need to go forward with that, to get it to do with them whatever you want to do.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So that was the, let me go back and find my agenda. That was the benefit of the library that I want to talk to about. Now the cemetery and the Green Grove, that was another thing I spent a day literally looking through stuff and getting information on. And I did get information on Green Grove. Let me find that now. That I think I have in the Google file. Okay, where's my Google file? That's not my Google file. That's not my Google file. I need to find, oh, here. There it is. Okay. There it is. I'll share a screen so everybody can enjoy the fun I'm having. I can find out how to share my screen. I can't see it at the bottom. Oh, hold on. What are you seeing right now?
You.
Oh, okay. You're not seeing anything that's shared. Okay. I just wonder if you're seeing something shared and I can't figure out where it is. Okay.
I see you trying to figure out how to share it.
Okay. Well, I'm working on it. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Look at this now. I got information from the state because I couldn't find any information. We did find information on the Blake Fund. I'd like to make that clear. Have not been able to find any information on Memorial Park. And that is true at the, oh, never mind. Here's the Ashland Memorial Park. At the 1993 Ashland Town Meeting, there were 4 warrant articles relating to the park, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Are you seeing this?
Yes.
Okay. Article 8 states there'll be a warranty deed from from the Memorial Park Commission to the town of Ashland. This is from Audrey. She sent me all this information at the state. So then may deed on file. I'll look into my Ashland files. Oh, Terry sent it. Okay. So let me see. Town's own property. Oh, here's the 1993 warrant article for the Memorial Park. Here we go. Where is it? Author segment. Well, town will raise and appropriate the sum.
I think the first article is on the bottom. Article 8.
Article, see if the town warranty deed. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, and that's all I've got. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Okay, so we know that they did, and it'll be on such, and it got cut off. To see if the town will vote, here we go. Deeds is recorded, Memorial Park, and to further authorize that all funds in the possession of the town now and hereafter that are dedicated for the purpose of the care, maintenance, and protection of the Ashland Memorial Park be used and administered in accordance with the terms and conditions of the Ashland Memorial Park Trust and the general purpose is stated herein. And I never found a trust. And here's the Memorial Park Board of Trustees. And trustees shall account for the receipts and disbursements. So that I guess the point I'm saying is I never found any trust per se, but I did find that they're all happy with having us manage the money that benefits Memorial Park. And so this was yes, yes. I don't know why Scribner is on there. I think the Y here means yes. And they said no to this. To authorize the trust funds managed by both the Ashland Town Trustees, the Ashland Memorial Park, they voted no on that when it went before the town. And so it's just the trustees of the trust funds that can manage the funds for Memorial Park. And the principal of the trust shall be used only for investment and reinvestment purposes, so we can't spend the principal. And that we're just going to give, give funds to the trustees of Memorial Park to manage the park and do the work needed on the park. So, any questions on that? This is in the Google file. Everybody's quiet.
Yeah, I don't have any questions per se. I'd actually like to see the original document, which seems to be missing.
Yeah, this I got from the state. I couldn't find any information. And we'll get to cleaning out the Scribner room in a minute. But I believe find any.
Does Memorial Park date all the way back to the 60s? Does it go all the way back to that?
I thought it was in 1970.
Okay.
That it was 19.
Susan has probably quite a bit of information on this.
Okay.
So anyway, I've asked some Memorial Park trustees, but I didn't ask her. So at any rate, but I did want you to know I got that from the state. Now, let's see if I can move the pictures of everybody so I can see what I'm doing. Now, the Green Grove Cemetery, there is also a trust. It's the cemetery trust. And I said, well, what the heck is going on with the cemetery trust? The cemetery trust has not a lot of money in it.
The whole $50? Is that what I see?
No. This is different. I'll explain what I got.
Okay.
It's not a whole $50. Okay, hold on. Green Grove. Here is the Green Grove. This is the PDF of Green Grove, the May statement that says Green Grove. As you can see, cemetery, Ashland Cemetery, and it has a balance of about $17,000, $16,794.79. So, and it's at UBS. We've got stuff at about 5 or 6 different places. We got a few things at UBS, but anyway. And so then I was like, well, where's the paperwork on the cemetery? Which I thought was a normal question to ask. And everybody kind of shrugged and no one could answer it. So I went to, I haven't found anything yet in the Scrivener room. I went to the state and I said, do you have any information on Green Grove Cemetery? So hold on, where was I showing you that just a minute ago?
So you were showing us the Green Grove.
Green Grove in the Google Doc. Well, that's
yeah.
And Google Docs, but I had information and you were saying $50 and laughing.
Oh, it was an old card query.
Cemetery
That's what it said.
Fund. Cemetery Fund. Let me try this. No, that's Green Grove May. Crimming Cemetery Fund Addison. Let's try this again. No, that's the Cemetery Fund. It's still a, where was I? Shoot. Well, what I have found, maybe I found it under Crimmings. What I found is that it's basically perpetual care stuff. As far as I can tell, here it is. It's perpetual care. You seeing this? I'll show you this.
Mm-hmm.
And perpetual care will not have any records. It will just be people give, in their will, I give another $250 to Green Grove Cemetery for the perpetual care of my, tombstone. So this has to do with stuff that these are people, for example, you see the testator is Lizzie Culver. Income for perpetual care of lots, $50. And then this person, Benjamin Dean. And so this goes into the cemetery fund. And we have cemetery trustees. This person, Susan Dean, income only for care of family burial plot, 1931, $300. Philip Marston, $500. Eugenia Ordway, $50. This is what the state came up with for me. Cemetery Association received bequests for perpetual care. Each bequest not listed here is association and private organization. And that's true. You're not going to have like a separate trust document for each one of these. This is all we're going to have. So when we meet with the cemetery trustees, I think we need to make them, on the one hand, aware of this. I don't know. They may all be aware of this and have all of these cards. I know that I had to go to the state to get this. Yes.
Cemetery trustees have no oversight over Green Grove. The town elected cemetery trustees do not manage the municipal Green Grove Cemetery. The Green Grove Association manages the municipal cemetery. So these these perpetual care can only be used for for the Ordway lot. You cannot use it for general maintenance and care.
Right. Right, I know that.
Yeah, you knew that. So yes, our cemetery trustees, because by statute, we must have them.
Mm-hmm.
They just in the town of Ashland, they do not have any fiduciary duties over the Green Grove Cemetery.
Okay, so who are the people that do have fiduciary duties over Green Grove?
The Green Grove Association, Rusty Cross, I believe, is the contact person.
Okay. Well, then I would say that I'm happy to reach out to Rusty and tell him about this, and maybe, I mean, what do you guys think, Dave and Walter? Have him at a meeting and just discuss this. And
They're a nonprofit.
mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I know Rusty does a lot of work over there.
Mm-hmm.
And Ernie Paquette was involved for a long time. I don't know if he still is or not.
Mm-hmm.
But, for when I was on water and sewer, Ernie was making all the decisions about the cemetery, and Rusty was just carrying out the Ernie's orders. So as far as I know,
Mm-hmm.
I can contact, since I know Rusty, I can contact him and ask him and see if he wants to come to our next meeting.
Well, I mean, the thing is like I said, here's a statement of Green Grove. There is money there. There's $16,700, and which is a compilation of at least the cards that I have on file, the state has on file. I'm going to assume there's more than that.
And this is all for perpetual care?
Yes.
Okay.
My understanding. I mean, when I asked, I asked around, I've looked through not everything in the Scrivener room, but a good amount in the Scrivener room. I couldn't find anything on Green Grove. And then this is, I'm going to make an assumption that this is kind of another hibernating trust.
Because they are considered charitable trusts, that's why the trustees of the trust fund have oversight over them. But the Green Grove Association, as a 501c3, they have to have a board of directors. They have to have officers. I believe, I was told Rusty he wasn't referred to as the president. So they have to have a president, a vice president. They have to have a treasurer.
Well, I think
maybe the Paquettes, I think, were on the board, and
Could be, yeah.
I want to be
Well, if
careful what I'm saying. It's another one of those confusing things occurring in the town of Ashland that people are very confused about. Because in other towns, the cemetery trustees, let's say, like Holderness, Trinity Cemetery, they have their own trustees. The Plymouth Cemetery, that's probably a municipal cemetery. So Trinity is private. Ashland is handled like a private cemetery with separate trustees, but it is in fact a municipal cemetery because by statute, each town has to have a municipal cemetery. How ours became managed by an outside agency, I don't know.
I think at this point, I've clearly shown that we have a problem, I think. Lack of clarity on exactly what's going on. And I have a feeling that we're not the only ones that might be a little unclear on this. So I think that perhaps not immediately. I think that our first ones to talk to would be Memorial Park and the Blake Fund people. But that definitely come maybe October, November, we need to also speak to the cemetery trustees as well and show them what we have, and maybe by then we'll have some further research on this stuff.
as an aside, when I was reading Old Town reports, I was perplexed that for quite a few years in a row, it was a petition warrant article to have oversight of the cemetery come under the select board. And it failed. It never passed, but it was on the warrant for quite a few years, and it's like, that doesn't make sense. And as I researched more, that's when I found out it's because it was being managed by people who were not elected by the town. So there must have been a little power play type stuff going on.
Well, I think from trustees of the trust fund perspective, you know, we have a trust that has this about $16,000, $17,000 in it. We have some documentation from the state that is for perpetual care of specific graves. I have a feeling that there's more documentation than I got from the state, just because I can't imagine those 5 or 6 cars adding up now to 16,007 something, especially if any money has ever been taken out of it to be used on the cemetery. So unless I hear any objections from, you know, my board, my feeling is, like I said, let's first attack the Blake Fund and get that settled. Let's attack the Memorial Park Fund and get that settled, and with the trustees of both places, and then hit the cemetery fund. I found out that Cremingsbury, which was something I had information on, I didn't know what it was. Cremingsbury is actually invested separately from Green Grove, but it is a perpetual care trust. And apparently that's because Cremingsbury, and I haven't been to the cemetery to check this out, but Cremingsbury does have a wall or something like that that's around a larger family plot. I may or may not have that right. Here's the Cremingsbury statement. I only know this because, again, I was getting statements, you know, in the mailbox from various investments. And here's a Creming, and it's got about 5,000 in it.
Well, let's ask Ed Doopy what it's about.
Well, I know. I don't even go there. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be helpful.
He passed away quite a while ago, but
yeah,
some of the problem that we have, like I said, they're kind of hibernating. So at any rate, there's like $5,000 in this, $5,000 or $6,000 in this, and for the Cremingsbury plot. But I for some reason I heard, I think Charlie said or something, there's a wall there or something that might need to be fixed in the future if it ever fell down or something. I didn't go to the cemetery to look it up, but we finally found where Cremingsbury, somehow it's separate from the other cemetery, and I don't know why. And I think that that's something that maybe Rusty could help us with, but I think we can only, you know, attack so many battles at once.
So I think Amanda, you're going in the right direction with let's go for the largest, most active, most well-documented funds and getting those, I don't want to say reined in, but squared away might be a better word.
Yeah.
In other words, go after that low-hanging fruit, get them to a place where everyone's happy and understands what's going on with them, and then attack some of these more complicated funds that have just been sitting around for a long time, doing something, anything, we don't really know what, get a little bit more documentation, what we understand on them. And, you know, in the case of Cremingsbury, it might end up taking a walk out to the cemetery to see what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
It seems like what I'm reading between the lines of what we know so far, it goes above and beyond just perpetual care of a particular plot.
I think it does, yeah. Then kind of going over as I was the various trusts, like I think, I don't know, 11 or something like that. The last of the trusts that we have are for scholarships. Let me see, where's my Safari preview? If I go, oh, actually, if I just kept it where we are, I think I keep it where I want it to be. Never mind. So let's see. Hold on. Let me share a screen again and see if I can get us somewhere. Microsafer Green Grove. Let me share that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I wanted to get back into the Google Drive, and I did. The last ones that I have up here that you can see the different trusts, Pauline Packard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then there's 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 3 at Wells Fargo are not on here. The Doggett is a scholarship fund, and Pauline, I think the Packard is, the Addison Fund is a scholarship fund. There's the Addison Library Fund that you see there, but there's also the Addison Fund below that, which is a scholarship fund. And that was active, that we had a, oh, it's not happy with this. Hold on. Because I scanned it on my phone, I think is why it's not happy. This is specifically the Alice Janet Addison Scholarship Fund. And as you can see, there were 2 deductions made from this, $500 each. And those are the people that got it. I guess I can say that now, can't I? It's in June. They've already received it. Yes. So we know that Benjamin Hughes got one, and Catherine von Eiderstein got one. So they have been giving 2 scholarships a year. We have the information. I have the information on those scholarships. I'm pretty sure I've got, yes, I'm pretty sure I have the information on what makes, you know, what the parameters are of the scholarship. And then the Doggett Fund is also a scholarship fund as well. If I can pull up Doggett. And it has a balance, not much, 1,000, I got the wrong glasses on,
1871.81.
Thank you. Nice youthful eyes. I'm jealous. But even when I was your age, I had bad eyesight. So anyways, you can see it's going down. They have, as in Tom Peters noted, that there's not always enough money to give a scholarship from this fund. And again, I think this is something that
depends on how it's invested.
Thank you, Walter. Exactly. And I think we would like to stabilize it so that we could count on a specific amount of money that we could grow with every year. And that, I do believe I have information on those different funds and what the parameters are of that. So that kind of ends my smaller fund lecture, you know, that I looked into to try to find out what they all are. Pauline Packard, that goes for the library. Audrey Cheney's a library. Green Grove, well, you know. Doggett, the second Doggett, I think that's just another, yeah, that was just another 1784. So it had gone up in value. That was just another statement for it. Doggett is a scholarship. Cremingsbury is something of the cemetery. Cemetery fund, this is the more statements from Green Grove. Addison Library Fund versus the Addison Fund, which is a scholarship fund. So there are 2 scholarships, Addison and Doggett. Addison has been used pretty much every year. It has a higher balance. Doggett has been a hit or miss. The 3 library funds, the library has not seen any benefit from for pretty much decades, and the library is going to tell us what they want to do about that. The cemetery fund, well, let's just leave it in hibernation until we solve the bigger fish that we have to fry, and then we'll bring in the cemetery people and find out what's going on with that. So just to kind of make a summary of what we've decided. Is there any questions, or anybody want to take a different route on anything?
Just out of curiosity, the Addison Scholarship Fund, what is the approximate current balance based on the last statement? I don't think I saw that.
Okay.
Because I know they just took $1,000 out of it for the year, but
oh yeah,
is that really sustaining it?
Well, my guess would be, with the history I've seen, probably not.
Okay, it looks like about, as of March 31st, looks like it's 11,095.72.
12,000, almost 12,000.
Yeah.
So clearly, if you took 1,000 from 14,839, you shouldn't be down to 12. It's losing. But that was
Yeah, no.
31st statement. In fairness, it was a March 31st statement, and everything was losing March 31st.
Right. The end of the calendar year, it was at 14.8. And so there, I was, I mean, if you look back the previous 6 years, it'd been floating just either side of 15,000. So been relatively stable.
Okay.
Probably suggests that they're taking out about what they're putting into it, or about what it's gaining rather.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
So, but I think, yeah, I think as you said, Walter, we should just stick with the big three, you know, getting those stabilized and then move into this later in the year.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is the really awful stuff now. We're going to end with the worst. We've got to move all the stuff out of the library. It's not, from what I understand, it is not necessarily against New Hampshire law to have the records not in town hall, but it is certainly not a good thing.
It's not a best management practice.
It is not a best management practice. And having said that, I think it really is against New Hampshire state law, my understanding, that the CRF material is not in town hall.
Yeah.
So having said that, I sent some emails, and I CC'd you both on them today, that I sent to Charlie, and I said, we need to get this stuff out, and I need boxes, and we need, most important, a place in town hall for the locked file cabinet for our CRF materials, which is a locked 2-drawer file cabinet. Now, I would like, we have some CRFs that were needed to be signed in May, so they still need to be signed. And we will have, Walter and I will be able to give the 2 signatures to them, hopefully by about Thursday. And what I would like to do is get that stuff out and where it needs to be now, you know. And I don't mind going in and doing it. I didn't want to move anything until I had a quorum, because I didn't want to act alone on anything. But we need to get that stuff out of there. And I think that's just a matter of, you know, one of us going in and putting everything in a box and then, you know, hauling the file cabinet down. Yes, Kathleen, did you want to say something?
Yes, I would suggest that you coordinate with Patsy,
Okay.
because she's the keeper of the records.
Yeah.
She will tell you where you can keep your stuff
Okay.
and where a file cabinet could go. And
Okay.
you would have to coordinate with her time in the office.
Okay.
And the value of having it at the office is to meet 91A.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a security system.
Yes.
And
Now,
it's connected to the fire station. So
yeah. Now, she is going to be the office. She's not going to be around soon.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
So if I talk to her tomorrow.
Yes. You can call her up, send her an email. I don't know exactly what she keeps in the vault. But there are locked file cabinets within the office.
This is a locked file cabinet that we have. Right?
It's where you're gonna put it.
Put it. And I'd like
the footprint for it. Yeah.
Right. I'd like to have it there, and I'd like, ideally, Walter, and I don't know what your schedule is, but ideally on the 29th, a week from today, could we schedule a trustee of the trust fund's working session at town hall? And I'll have to talk to town hall. I mean, I'll have to talk to all of this and find out if we can even do this, but I'd like us to be signing those checks at town hall. I don't want us signing them anywhere else but at town hall for security. I mean, there's no reason we should be doing this town business anywhere but town hall for something like that, because we need to deliver the checks to, you know, I guess Charlie.
Charlie.
Yeah. So I will talk to Charlie and Patsy, and we'll find out what the times are. I mean, Dave, do you have anything to say about, you know, where we should as trustees be conducting our business like this?
I agree. At the town hall.
Yeah, I think it needs to be there too. So I will find out and try to get a time where at least Walter and I can get stuff that was due 6 weeks ago, and pay the bills. And then we'll kind of go from there. So I'll be talking to you about that. The second thing then is there are records going back. The oldest I found is 1943 up in the room. And we need to go through this. Not everything we need to keep. 91A will list what it is that we do and do not need to keep. And so a lot of stuff will be thrown out. Stuff will be kept. The Scrivener and the trustee. Yes, Kathleen.
Probably a lot of that could be taken to the third floor of the town office.
Yeah, I don't know if we have to take all of it to the third floor of the town office.
Yeah, you just, yeah, certain things you have to keep for perpetuity, other
Right.
things. I don't know how they're destroyed. I don't know if they bring in a professional shredder. Do you know what I mean? You know, the companies that will
Shred it.
The security shredding type thing.
Yep.
This is another thing to discuss with Patsy.
Okay. So
'Cause I know when we wanted to straighten, I shouldn't say we, Katie as a project wanted to straighten out the boxes on the third floor because some of the stuff was falling on the floor. Patsy's response was an adamant no. Nobody, she did not want anybody to touch any of the materials that were stored on the third floor. So to make things go smoother for you, make sure you include Patsy in your conversation.
well, I think that maybe my emphasis doesn't need to be on going through stuff and sorting it on what needs to be kept and not kept, because honestly, most all of it, the problem that I have found, Susan McLeod has found with Scrivener, for example, we were up there, is that all the years are in manila envelopes by year. But then 2016 for some reason was in a random closet. So yeah, so it's not all, I mean, it appears, but I can't say that it's all there. However, the fact that it is all in envelopes, you know, and it does seem to have some, you know, a pretty good amount of organization, honestly. I mean, I really, you know, I just can't say that it's all 100% complete until I go through and look at every year. And then there's some random stuff like a book from 1943 or something, but most of it does seem to appear to be complete and without, and coordinate with library hours. Yes, Alice was certainly, we'll keep that in mind. It's hard to believe now that the library's slowly reopening, and so I'm having to put that onto my radar. But thank you for reminding me.
Couldn't you put the manila envelopes in like banker boxes?
Sure, absolutely.
And maybe you could have them put on the third floor, and then when you as a group have extra time, you could go through. Yeah,
When we're bored, when we need something to do, we can meet on the third floor of town hall.
Have you
Bring
been
it
up
down
there?
to the-
I wouldn't want to meet there.
Gross. Listen, I've been
in there. Now bring them down to the second floor. That area is not being used now. The second floor, our old Conservation Commission meeting area. No one's using.
The building inspector's office.
Yes.
Recently, I have been in so many places I really haven't wanted to be over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
For listing bids at Scrivener, I've been up in the attic way more times than I ever wanted to be.
I mean, the cool thing about the third hall at town hall, the third floor at town hall, is it's got the little knee wall doors, and you can end up out there in the attic space. There's the little hobbit doors that take you out.
They also have the evidence cage.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so having said that, cage. Oh gosh. So having said all of that, the important thing at this point is that we need to clear out that room for a variety of reasons. Once we get the room cleared out, we don't need to have it locked anymore. Once we get the sprinkler system in, the library can use it. You know, we need to get it cleared out. So do I have your permission, the permission of my board, to go in, because I have the time. Dave, if you'd like to help, I'm not holding you back. But to go in and at least get the file cabinet, the locked file cabinet out and moved. I'll talk to Patsy before I do this so we know where it's going, and to at least get those materials into town hall. and then to get boxes from Charlie and just to begin, putting them in by years and labeling the boxes. Is it any way we can get any kind of, what was it, the town, Craig Moore?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
DPW?
probably could get DPW to help you.
Yeah, to pull the boxes over, because I can
Yeah.
pack. I mean, I moved cross country. I know how to pack, but I don't want to have to haul them down and all the way to town hall. I'm 53 years old.
Oh, we shouldn't be hauling that stuff around, but no, you have my permission to do that. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Do you want a motion? Do you think this is motion worthy to say that you're gonna, Amanda is gonna coordinate with town hall to relocate all records from the Scrivener room at the Scrivener building to town hall as directed, and coordinate with the town clerk as to where they go?
Yeah, I second that.
Okay. It'll look better in the minutes when I write it.
That sounds very good to me. I second that.
Okay. All right.
Do we have any discussion? So we will take a vote now. All in favor, and it must be done by roll call since we are remote. Dave Toth,
Aye.
Walter Durack,
Aye.
and Amanda Loud is also aye, so that has carried. So I will talk to Patsy. I'll send an email out tomorrow, and the priority is to get the CRF and the Fs in the lock file cabinet over there, and then to begin a plan on getting everything, the records out and onto the third floor. And hopefully, Alice, we can have all of that done before the library is open to patrons, and you'll actually be able to use the room. This is our goal. I've got an estimate coming for the sprinkler and everything. So, the goal is to be able to have that second floor usable.
That's great. And we really don't have a date for that. So we'll see how our back porch delivery is going.
Yeah. Okay, so our next meeting then, if no one else has any questions.
I have one thing that I'd like us to consider, and that is once we get all of this accomplished, I think we need
Oh,
to.
you're so optimistic. Okay, yes.
I think I don't know what our file system looks like,
Yes.
but I think we might need to take a look at our file system and reorganize our file system so
Okay.
that it's adequate, and perhaps consider digitizing all of our records.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, that's where I was headed with this. It's like, what kind of files do you want? Okay. Yeah, I agree. And that's why I've got the Google file, that I've shared with you all. And I'm going to try, as I said, to get the warrant articles for all the CRFs. I'm just going to screenshot, online town reports and get that in. But you're right. We have all the information on the various trusts. For example, we have some of it sort of here and there. Blake is not digitized. So you're right. And that's certainly where I know Walter and I are headed, thinking that way. And it's nice to hear that you're headed that way too.
Yeah, I think it's very important we do that. Yeah.
Extremely. Yeah. So a little at a time, I would say that, maybe hibernating is a very good term for what has happened with a lot of the trusts, but also with some of the other documentation. And we'll pull it out and get it all together. But I agree, it should not be in paper form. We shouldn't be using notebooks. We need to get it all digitized. And once we get funds slowly reinvested in better ways, we will begin to get online. We have, like what we do with Wells Fargo. The other 8 trusts are coming in on monthly and quarterly, and that needs to stop. But we have them where they are right now until we have directives from the library and whatnot. Yep. Yes.
You need to check some things you do have to keep as hard copies.
Okay, and that's in 91A?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good to know.
So you definitely need to keep things in hard copy, but in terms of our being able to access records easily, having them digitized and filed in an orderly manner, I think is really important.
You know,
The
it's funny
manila
'cause-
envelopes aren't just doing it for you.
They may be organized very well. I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
Right, but this is 2020. It's not 1943.
Although in 1943, it was the book. It wasn't a manila envelope. But 1985, it was a manila envelope. So.
Right. No.
Though after all this Zooming, this remote meeting, there could be a change in how we, you know, have to keep records that,
Correct, yeah.
you know, everybody says, oh, you know, record your meeting. And actually, according to statute, that is not the legal
It's not the legal documentation.
of your meeting. You still
Right.
have to have those minutes.
Mhm.
Yep.
But things could, you know, things could change. Think this whole meeting remotely and Zooming and whatnot could change how the state says how we do our business going forward. Don't know, but it could happen. There is a lot of space on the second floor now that I'm thinking about for file cabinets.
I'll talk to Patsy.
Yeah.
Talk to Patsy, and I will send Walter. I will send you and Dave an email to keep you up to date. You know, on where I'm pretty good about seeing everybody whenever I send off emails. I don't tend to send solo emails.
So if all the stars and planets align and we need to use Monday for a work session, I won't book anything. So
Okay, I will try, because we needed, that stuff was supposed to have been signed, you know, almost 2 months ago. So I will put that down and see if we can get there. Our next meeting would be then July 26th, which is the 4th Monday of July. Is that good with everybody?
yes.
Okay. And then, let's see, let me make sure I'm good. Yep, I already have it written down there. And then by then, like I said, the main thrust of that meeting is going to be making some final decisions on the Wells Fargo stuff and being able to get those three moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, thank you for all your hard work, Amanda.
Yes. Thank you, Amanda.
Well, you're welcome. Teacher's hours. I've got the time to do it right now. And so, you know, I'm taking advantage of that. Don't ask me to do something like this. And
I'm retired, so I'm far too busy for this stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, when I do get any time scheduled to be boxing up records and getting things, you know, I will certainly let you all know when the party happens. And we'll work around the library as well. Although, Alice, I will be up in that room. So as far as, you know, contact with people and everything goes, you know, it would be extremely minimal. I did, unfortunately, scare the daylights out of Sarah and Terry the other day when I had some roofers. It was kind of a last minute, you know, meeting them there to get an estimate on the roof. And I've had 3 estimates. And anyway, we went right up, you know, I didn't mean to open up the library, and they were like, oh my gosh, you know, who's coming in? And I could understand that. That was just,
yes.
It's not on my radar. It was getting roofers.
Communication is key. So thank you.
It was a last minute, and it all worked out well. We were all up on the third floor.
Yeah.
The third.
It's pretty hot up there too.
Oh, and it's just heat. I've just been so many places I don't want to be for so many times this past couple of weeks.
And there are air conditioners somewhere, and I'm not sure of the status of that, but we have window air conditioners somewhere.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, so we will then see you at the Scribner meeting, which will be July 13th, and we will be before BOS on July 6th as Scribner trustees, talking about future expenses that we were presenting to the town and the Scribner budget. So, okay, otherwise, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Guys.
You know,
Good night.